Everybody's favorite word problems. Okay. The surface area of a cone with radius r and slant height s. Remember these formulas from grade 10? Is pi rs plus pi r squared. And then it goes on to tell us that the cone has a surface area of 300, a slant height of 15, and says what's the radius? Well, this sounds very similar to something you did back in grade 10 in your measurement unit. What would you do? You plug in everything you know and solve. So I know the surface area, so I can plug in 300 for A. I know the slant height, so I can plug in 15 for S. And everything else I would leave. And I only have one variable in this equation now. I have the variable r that I'd like to solve for. But unlike grade 10, what makes this a grade 11 question is the r is squared. We technically have a quadratic equation here. But instead of numbers or even fractions, we have numbers that include pi. Well, how do we solve a quadratic equation? We have three different techniques. We can either use the zero product property and factor. We can complete the square, or we could use a quadratic formula. But all three of those, as part of your setup, normally you make one side equal to 0 first. And so I like to check, where's my r squared? It's right here. Is my value in front of that r squared positive? Yes. So I would move everything to the right-hand side. And moving it over to the right-hand side, I'd be like, well, even if I use factoring or the quadratic formula, I like this form where the thing that's squared is first, then the variable, then the constant equals 0. So I'm going to move everything over to the right side. I'm going to write the pi r squared first, plus 15 pi r second, and then I'll move the 300 over minus 300. First of all, I do a quick look. There's no common factor in the whole thing, so I always check for that common factor. With the pi, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be attempting to factor this. And with the pi, I also feel like completing the square would not be very much fun, because you'd have fractions that involve pi. So, quadratic formula seems to be the best bet. So I go r equals negative b. Can you see this is your b value? So negative 15 pi plus or minus square root. You're going to have to do 15 pi squared minus 4 times a is pi, times c, which is negative 300, all over 2a. Okay. But this isn't even a non-calculator question, because we see here in the question it says nearest hundred. So this is where you can really get to know your graphing calculator well, and it can type this whole thing in quickly and easily. And I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to take out my calculator. Oh, I've actually got it in there already. Well, I'll just clear it out. I'll retype it in. There we go. So, on your graphing calculator, if you hit the alpha button, and y equals, it goes to these function things at the top. And in the first one, you can write fractions, which is really handy. And now we can write everything that we see in this equation. I wonder if I can, oh yeah, scroll it up so I can see it. So I have negative 15 pi. On the graphing calculator, the subtract sign and the negative sign are different. And it causes some problems if you use the wrong one. So I have a negative 15 pi, and I have the plus or minus. I'm going to do the plus first, plus square root. I'm going to put that in brackets, 15 pi, because it gets squared, minus 4 bracket pi bracket negative again with the negative sign, negative 300 over 2, I guess I wouldn't need the bracket there because it would understand if you wrote those beside each other that that's multiplying. So without doing any mental math whatsoever, I can push enter and I get 4.82 as one answer. And because it's a word problem, I should check, are there units? Yes. Centimeters. But we're also going to get another answer if we do the subtract. So, again, your graphing calculator, I could retype everything, or I could just go up and select what I just wrote and push enter, and it retypes it all for me, and then I can just use my arrow keys a little bit to get to that plus sign and change it to a subtract sign. That's a lot quicker than retyping it all. Push enter, and now I get r equals negative 19.8. In any word problem, though, these are the two right answers if they just said solve for r. However, since this is a word problem, can you see that there's kind of a problem with one of the answers? And what would that problem be?
I was just going to say, doesn't the second one have to be the hundredths space, not the tenths?
The second one have to be?
The one of them, it said the round thing is 100, but it's 19.
Oh, yeah, I should round, you're right. 19.82. Thank you. It's not going to matter in a second. You can't have a negative radius. So I was just about to exit out, so having that extra decimal place would not have mattered because we exit out anyways. You can't have a negative radius. That doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to your brain to try to wrap around something with a negative radius. It makes me, I don't know, makes me almost think of a black hole, or I don't know. It just doesn't seem very possible. So the only answer is the 4.82. We've got our rounding correct. We've got our units. Everything is there. And you can circle questions 14, 15, and 16.